Every legend hides a truth. Every myth whispers a warning. Welcome to the Mythic Hour, where the forgotten gods and cursed stories return to life. Before the first snows of Midgard fell, before men carved runes into stone, there came a whisper across the branches of Yggdrasil. The Norns, who weave the fates of gods and men, murmured a dark prophecy. A wolf shall rise, born of deceit and fire. The god's blood shall mark his teeth, and the Allfather shall meet his end. Between his jaws. Odin Allfather, who had plucked out one eye for wisdom, heard those words and felt the tremor of doom. Yet even a god cannot unmake fate, only delay it. Far to the east, in the land of giants, Loki the trickster laughed as his consort Angrboða bore 3 children. The first, a serpent so vast it could coil around the world. The second, a maiden with half her face fair and half in decay, Hel, who would rule the dead. And the last, a black-furred wolf pup, whose eyes gleamed with both innocence and ruin. They called him Fenrir. When he first opened his eyes, the sky dimmed. When he howled, the winds changed direction. His mother shuddered as she held him. "He will shake the bones of the world," she whispered. Loki only smiled, though even his trickster's heart was uneasy. Word of these monstrous children reached Asgard, and Odin summoned the gods. Thor, red-bearded and grim, pounded his hammer against the floor. "Destroy them," he growled, "before they destroy us." But Odin raised his hand. "No, we shall not kill what fate has named. We shall watch. We shall bind their paths, if not their blood." So the serpent was cast into the sea, and there it grew, encircling the earth. Hel was sent beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, to rule the dead in shadow. And Fenrir, the gods brought him to Asgard. At first, the wolf was small enough to follow Tyr, god of war and justice, like a pup follows its master. Tyr, alone among the gods, looked upon Fenrir without hatred. He fed him from his own hand, spoke to him softly in the mornings, and walked beside him as he grew. But Fenrir's growth was not like other beasts. Each moon he doubled in size. His paws shook the ground. His voice could make ravens fall silent. The Aesir began to fear him. "Look at him," said Frigg, Odin's queen. "He will be our doom." And Odin, staring into the wolf's golden eyes, felt that fear sink into his bones. As seasons passed, Fenrir grew vast beyond imagining. His shoulders towered above the halls of Asgard, his breath like smoke from a black forge. When he ran, the earth quaked. When he roared, the skies trembled. Though Tyr still walked with him, the other gods no longer dared to draw near. They whispered that even the mighty Thor might fall before the wolf's jaws. Odin called a council beneath the roots of Yggdrasil. The gods gathered, grim, proud, fearful. "Brothers, sisters," said Odin, his voice echoing through the mist, "the Norns have spoken. Fenrir is fated to slay me. Yet prophecy is a river that may be dammed, if we are cunning." He looked to Thor. "What say you, Thunderer?" Thor slammed his fist upon the stone. "Let me crush him now, Allfather. My hammer will shatter his bones, and his name will be forgotten." But Odin shook his head. "To strike at fate is folly. We shall not kill him, but we shall bind him." And so the gods forged a plan. They approached Fenrir with smiles and sweet words, calling it a game of strength. The first chain they brought was lading, thick as an anchor rope, forged of iron from the mountains of Jotunheim. "Great Fenrir," said Odin, his voice smooth as oil, "you are the mightiest of all creatures. No chain can hold you. Prove your strength. Break this and win eternal glory." Fenrir, though not yet wise to deceit, was proud. He laughed, a sound like thunder breaking from a cavern. "Bring it, Allfather. Let us see what tricks your forges can conjure." They wrapped him in the chain, binding his legs and neck. He strained once, and the links burst apart like threads of grass. The gods laughed, but their laughter was hollow. Fenrir's power had become undeniable. Next they forged Dromi, twice as strong, quenched in the blood of dwarves and cooled in the ice of Niflheim. Again they asked him to test his strength. Again he broke it, though this time, the strain carved deep furrows in the ground and split the stone beneath his claws. The gods looked to one another, and in their eyes bloomed a single thought: we cannot make a chain strong enough. But Odin's mind turned to the dwarves of Svartalfheim, those cunning smiths who could weave magic into matter. He sent Skirnir, Freyr's messenger, to bargain with them. The dwarves listened and smiled their cold smiles. "We shall forge a chain that no strength can break," they said. "But its making will cost you dearly, All-Father." "What price?" asked Skirnir. "6 things that no longer exist in this world," said the dwarves. "The sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the breath of a fish, the spittle of a bird, and the sinews of a bear." From these impossible things they wove Gleipnir, a ribbon smooth as silk, shining like moonlight. It was soft to the touch, yet stronger than any chain of iron or gold. When Odin saw it, he felt both triumph and shame. They returned to Fenrir once more. The wolf sat by the river Van, his golden eyes watching the reflection of clouds drift by. Tyr stood beside him, silent. "Fenrir," said Odin, "we have made a new binding. It is light and thin, unlike the others. But magic lies in it. Prove your strength one final time. If you can break this, none shall doubt you again." Fenrir narrowed his eyes. "You mock me, All-Father. That ribbon could not hold a child. Yet your laughter is too heavy, your smiles too sharp." Then he turned to Tyr. "Tell me, friend, will they keep their word?" Tyr hesitated. His mouth opened, but no words came. That silence was all the answer Fenrir needed. "I see," the wolf growled softly. "You fear me. You think I will bring ruin upon you. Perhaps I shall. Yet I have done no wrong." His tail lashed the ground, sending dust into the air. "Still, I will play your game, if one of you will place a hand in my mouth as a pledge of faith. Should you deceive me, that hand will be forfeit." The gods shifted uneasily. None stepped forward, save Tyr. He met the wolf's gaze and said, "So be it." He placed his right hand between Fenrir's teeth. The gods bound Fenrir with Gleipnir. He shook once, twice, 3 times, but the ribbon did not yield. He twisted, roared, clawed at the stones, yet it held fast, soft as silk, unbreakable as doom. Then he saw the truth written in their faces. They had tricked him. A deep growl rose from his throat, shaking the heavens. "You liars," he snarled. "You cowards." And with a single snap of his jaws, Tyr's hand was gone. The river ran red, and the gods stepped back in silence. They drove a sword between Fenrir's jaws to keep them open, and from his drooling mouth flowed rivers of venom. They chained him to a rock on an island in the lake of Van, and there he raged, his cries echoing through all 9 realms. Only Tyr stayed a while, standing apart from the others. "I am sorry, old friend," he whispered, "but we are bound by fate as much as you." Fenrir's eyes burned like suns through the mist. "Then when the end comes, Tyr, I will remember your sorrow, and repay your gods in kind." Ages passed. Empires rose and crumbled. Seas froze and thawed. Mortals built their cities and sang their songs, never knowing that beneath the shadowed sky, the wolf of Van lay bound, waiting. Fenrir's chains bit deep into his flesh. Gleipnir, that silken ribbon, burned like ice against his skin. His jaws, forced open by the sword of the gods, could no longer howl to the heavens. His breath came out in low, rumbling growls that shook the rocks and frightened birds from miles away. Above him, the world turned. He felt it through the earth, the hammer of Thor echoing in distant battles, the clash of blades between men, the sighs of Odin as he sought wisdom from the dead. And through it all he waited. Sometimes Tyr would visit him. He came without armor or weapon, one-handed, weary-eyed. He would sit upon a stone and speak softly. "Fenrir," he would say, "your name has become a curse among men. They tell their children, 'Behave, or the great wolf will devour you.'" And though Fenrir could not answer, his mouth held open by that cruel blade, his golden eyes told the truth of his thoughts. "Let them fear me. Let them remember who chained me for being what I was made to be." Tyr sighed. "Not all of them hate you. Some say you were wronged, that the gods feared what they could not control." Fenrir blinked slowly as if to say, even gods are prey to fear. In time, even Tyr stopped coming. The gods turned their eyes elsewhere. But the Norns still wove, and the roots of fate still wound tight around the wolf. Then one night, a strange wind came, carrying scents long forgotten, salt, frost, and iron. The earth trembled, not with the power of gods, but with something older. From the darkness of Jotunheim came the whispers of Loki. Bound in his own torment, chained to a rock beneath the earth with venom dripping upon his face, the trickster too remembered his son. When his chains began to shake loose at the world's twilight, his laughter echoed through the 9 realms. "My son, my child of storm and hunger," Loki whispered into the void, "the time comes soon. The gods who caged you will tremble. The sky will split, and you will feast upon the doom they feared." At that whisper, Fenrir's muscles tightened. Gleipnir quivered. His rage, buried for eons, flared anew. The island shook. Birds fled the trees. Wolves in Midgard lifted their heads and howled as one, answering a call older than memory. Seasons turned to centuries. The stars grew colder. Then came Fimbulwinter, the great winter that would not end. 3 years of snow without spring. Brothers slaying brothers. Hunger stalking the earth. And in the heart of that storm, Fenrir felt it, the weakening of the bonds. The old magic frayed. The god's power waned. He flexed once, and Gleipnir groaned like an old tree. He strained again, and cracks rippled through the ground. The sword that held his jaws apart began to shake loose. The stones split. The lake boiled. From his throat came a sound not heard since the dawn of time, a howl so vast that it shattered mountains and drove madness into men's dreams. Across the sky, the ravens of Odin, Hugin, and Munin fell from flight. The All-Father heard that cry from his throne and knew. The wolf is loose. He rose, and all of Asgard trembled. In Jotunheim, Loki broke his bonds. His laughter carried on the wind. In the seas, Jormungandr, the world serpent, stirred and coiled, lifting its massive head through the waves. In Helheim, the half-dead queen rallied her legions. And in Asgard, Heimdall lifted his horn and blew. The sound of Gyllerhorns split the heavens. The gods armed themselves. Thor gripped Mjolnir. Freyr drew his shining sword. Odin mounted Sleipnir, his 8-legged steed, his one eye burning like a dying sun. And from the edge of the world came Fenrir, vast as a mountain, his fur matted with blood and shadow, his eyes burning with hatred and sorrow. Each step shook the earth, each breath scorched the air. The wolf had returned. The sky cracked open like a shattered shield. Lightning tore across the firmament. The roots of Yggdrasil trembled as all 9 realms quaked beneath the weight of destiny. The time of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, had come. Fenrir rose from the lake of Van, his chains falling away like broken spider silk. He shook his mane, and the spray of blood and venom darkened the snow for miles. His howl rolled through the cosmos, and even the dead in Helheim paused to listen. "You bound me in deceit," he thundered, his voice like the cracking of mountains. "You feared what you created. Now the fear you sowed will return to you 1,000-fold." The sun and moon fled before him, but his children, Skoll and Hati, wolves of his blood, caught them at last. They devoured the lights of the heavens, plunging all the worlds into endless night. In that darkness, the fire giants marched from Muspelheim, their banners glowing like molten rivers. Surtur, wreathed in flame, swung his burning sword and set the sky ablaze. The Bifrost bridge shattered beneath their feet. Heimdall's horn fell silent. Asgard was no longer untouchable. Upon the plain of Vigrid, where the final battle was to be fought, Odin gathered his warriors, the Aesir and the Einherjar, the souls of heroes chosen from Valhalla. The air smelled of ash and iron. The ground trembled with the march of destiny. Odin sat astride Sleipnir, his cloak of ravens fluttering. His face was calm, though he knew his doom. He turned to Tyr, one-handed and grim. He turned to Thor, whose hammer sparked with the last thunder of the world. He turned to Freyr, Freya, and the rest of the gods who had once shaped creation. "My sons, my daughters," Odin said, his voice heavy as the weight of the runes. "We have lived as kings in the age of gods. But even we must bow to the weaving of the Norns. Fight bravely, and let the end know your names." Then from the shadows at the edge of the field came the wolf. Fenrir's eyes glowed like twin suns in the void. His fur was black as a moonless sky, his teeth longer than swords. Each step cracked the frozen ground. Behind him walked Loki, smiling through blood, his eyes bright with vengeance. The air grew still. Even the giants paused, sensing the presence of something older than time. Odin and Fenrir faced one another across the field of ruin. The All-Father raised his spear, Gungnir, the weapon that had never missed its mark. "I know you, wolf," he said. "I have seen you in every dream of death. Yet still, I will meet you as king, not coward." Fenrir bared his fangs, his voice a deep growl that shook the bones of the gods. "You knew me as a pup," he said. "You fed me lies and fear. You bound me for the sin of being what fate decreed. Now behold what your cruelty has birthed." He lunged. Odin struck with Gungnir, the runes flaring bright, piercing the wolf's hide, but Fenrir only roared and snapped the spear in two. He reared up, vast as a mountain, his jaws stretching wide enough to swallow the sky. The sunless air filled with his breath, hot and foul and burning. Sleipnir screamed. The ground buckled. And in that moment, Odin met his fate. Fenrir's jaws closed upon the All-Father, swallowing him whole. The sky went dark as silence fell upon Vigrid. The gods cried out in rage and despair. But not all was ended. From among the warriors stepped Vidar, Odin's silent son, the god of vengeance and solitude. He wore a thick shoe made from all the scraps of leather ever cut from mortal boots, a charm of power older than speech. Without a word, Vidar leapt upon the wolf. He drove one foot upon Fenrir's lower jaw, holding it fast to the earth. With his hands, he seized the upper jaw and tore it apart. The sound was like thunder breaking mountains. Fenrir screamed, a roar that shattered the heavens. Blood poured from his mouth like rivers of fire. The wolf fell, slain at last, his lifeblood soaking into the snow. The gods stood silent. Odin was gone, the wolf was dead, and the sky burned red with the fire of Surtur's sword. Thor faced the world serpent and struck it down, though its venom slew him in turn. Freyr fell before Surtur's blade. Loki and Heimdall killed each other in the dust. The fire giant raised his sword once more and swept it across the sky. The world burned. The seas boiled. Mountains melted into rivers of flame. Yggdrasil itself caught fire, its roots writhing in agony. All creation collapsed into smoke and silence. But death was not the end. In the ashes of the world, the wind stirred again. From the charred soil sprouted green shoots. The rivers cleared. Two humans, Lif and Lifthrasir, emerged from the shelter of Yggdrasil's roots, the first of a new age. Above them, the sun's daughter rose in her mother's place, bringing light to the new world. And somewhere beyond time, where the last echoes of God still lingered, a shadow stirred among the stars. A great wolf spirit, watching, silent, calm at last. For Fenrir had fulfilled his fate. He was not evil, only inevitable. And though his name would forever be whispered in fear, the truth was simpler still. Even gods cannot bind what is destined to be free. Subscribe for more myths that were never meant to be forgotten.